Michigan Muckraker. My name's Michelle, and today is January 9th of 2023. It's currently 9 a.m., and I wanted to share with you this article that I found about an announcement that Governor Gretchen Whitmer out of Michigan made about a new electric vehicle battery plant coming to Big Rapids, Michigan. I'm also going to share with you why this is a terrible thing for Michiganders and for Michigan in general. And at the end, I'm going to share with you an idea that I had that's actually better for Michiganders and will create jobs, which is the only positive thing that is, excuse me, is to be said about this announcement. So I'm going to jump right in. This comes from Michigan.gov, so right from Governor Gretchen Whitmer's team back in October 5th of 2022. Says Whitmer announces new battery component manufacturing facility in Big Rapids. Announces new manufacturing facility creating 2,350 jobs and an investment of more than $2.3 billion. Lansing, Michigan. As part of a series of electric vehicle battery investments made today, Governor Gretchen Whitmer joined the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and announcing Michigan Strategic Fund support for a transformational investment by the global battery company Gotion, which has chosen to build its battery component manufacturing facility in Big Rapids. Gotion's $2.36 billion investment, creating 2,350 good-paying jobs in Big Rapids, is the biggest ever economic development project in northern Michigan and will shore up our status as the global hub of mobility and electrification, said Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I am proud that Republicans and Democrats worked across the aisle to build up our economic development toolkit and empowered Michigan to compete for every project and every job. Together, we will continue winning investments in the space and become the preeminent destination for electric vehicles and mobility companies. We will work with anyone and compete with everyone to keep bringing supply chains of batteries, chips, and electric vehicles home to Michigan. We are thrilled to congratulate the Gotion team on choosing Michigan as their American home for opportunity. Team Michigan continues to out-hustle and out-compete to ensure every global company considering their future expansion opportunities can see their future here in our state, just like Gotion does, said Quentin L. Messer, CEO of MEDC and President and Chair of the MSF Board. We are grateful for the support and collaboration from our multiple local partners at the city and country levels. Our partners at the right place and Consumers Energy in particular, and appreciate the bipartisan support of the legislature to bring these good-paying jobs and economic opportunities to our friends and neighbors both here in Big Rapids and throughout the region. Founded in 1998 and based in Hefei, China, Gotion High-Tech Company Co. engages in the research and development, production, and sale of power lithium batteries in China and internationally. Its products include lithium iron phosphate materials and batteries, ternary materials and batteries, power battery packs, battery management systems, and energy storage battery packs for use in electric commercial vehicles, passenger vehicles, special vehicles, and hybrid vehicles. Gotion also offers high-voltage electrical appliances, switchgear equipment, and electrical digital equipment, intelligent distribution network equipment, serialized transformation transformers, circuit breakers, integrated charging piles, onboard chargers, and energy storage cabinets for use in thermal power, hydropower, nuclear power, wind power, metallurgy, railway, and other industries. Well, at least they said it in this announcement. A Chinese company in Big Rapids, Michigan. I don't know about you, but I don't like that. Especially since at this time there's supposed Chinese, Taiwanese friction going on I'll get into that more, but yeah. Gotion was incorporated in California in 2014 and was focused on research and development activities in Fremont, California, as well as Cleveland, Ohio. We are thankful to the Big Rapids community, state of Michigan, and all who supported us in getting the project to this important milestone. We are dedicated to bringing world-class lithium battery production in North America and delivering high-quality products to our customers in a timely fashion. We look forward to our continued partnership to ensure a smooth launch, said Chuck Thelen, Vice President of Gotion Global. So, lithium batteries. This goes on, let's see, not that much longer. I'll go through the whole thing. In order to secure today's project, which Michigan won out over Texas, Georgia, Kentucky, South Carolina, Illinois, and Ohio, the MSF board approved a package of incentive support including a $125 million critical industry program performance-based grant through the SOAR Fund. So here we go. Chinese company getting a bunch of taxpayer dollars. An MSF designated Renaissance zone estimated to be worth $540 million. A $50 million strategic site readiness program performance-based grant through the SOAR Fund will be administered by the right place to assist with infrastructure improvements. In addition to MSF support, both Green Charter Township and Big Rapids Charter Township anticipate approval of a PA 198 real property tax abatement. Green Charter Township, Big Rapids Charter Township, and Mecosta County have also authorized a 30-year Renaissance zone in support of the project. And, I'm going to keep going, but what really bothers me is that until this announcement, which is basically, it's almost complete. It's almost a sure thing. I think there's one more vote. They are discussing it right now, which is why I'm talking about it. We still have an opportunity to stop this, of course, and we should. And again, it's not good for Michigan. Electric batteries have a lot of pollution problems, a lot of issues, so we're going to get into that. I'm going to finish up this article really quick and then explain exactly why this is such a terrible idea for Michigan and Michiganders. Let's see. The project has a potential to provide great jobs to multiple generations of our citizens, said Mecosta County Controller Administrator Paul Bullock. Bullet. Citizens who will not have to leave our community for this type of opportunity, but who will be able to stay, grow, and enrich our community through their presence. The right place is honored to have played a role in bringing this transformational project to the Big Rapids area, said Brent Case, Vice President, Business Attraction, The Right Place. The location and community have been prepared for an opportunity like this to utilize the infrastructure, locally trained talent pool, and outstanding resources from Ferris State University. We are well on our way to positioning the region at the center of West Michigan's growing mobility and EV sector. It is anticipated the influx of jobs will result in spin-off investments and redevelopment opportunities. Over $11.5 billion in new personal income is expected to be generated by the direct, indirect, and induced jobs that this opportunity will create over 20 years. We are excited at the opportunity to partner with Gotion, our municipal leaders, and our economic development partners on this once-in-a-century project that will have a significant impact for both the Big Rapids region and for Ferris State University. Gotion has made it clear that Ferris State University will be a strong partner in this effort for many years to come, and we are well prepared to do so, said Ferris State University President Bill Pink. While we have not yet reached the finish line, the board approval this morning has moved us one step closer to collaboration that will positively impact and enhance our region and state as a whole. I am excited about this opportunity to advance our region, the city of Big Rapids, and our great university. Yeah, terrible. They almost have it pushed through, and now they're announcing it. That's shady enough. But the EV sector. Chinese battery maker Gotion to locate a third of its production abroad by 2025. And this was in, let's see, right there, June 27th of 2022. So a couple months later, 4 or 5 months later, they announce the Chinese battery company Gotion will be moving to Big Rapids. Mecosta County Battery Manufacturing Facility will receive millions in financial incentives. Grants approved by Michigan Strategic Fund Board will come from SOAR dollars. There's a picture of the facility. And look at that. Right on our river. So we're going to trust a Chinese company making electric vehicle batteries, so tons of chemicals involved. We're going to trust them on our river. It doesn't seem very green to me. None of this is very green. In October, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and Michigan Strategic Fund Board approved a financial incentive package for Gotion, Inc. to bring an electric vehicle battery component manufacturing facility to Mecosta County. Yeah, jobs. That's pretty much the only thing. And now, I wanted to say this really quick about the jobs. Do you think that by 2032, they won't be automated? This 2,130 jobs is not instant. It's by 2032. And a lot can change, as we know. A lot can change in just a year. So I highly doubt that it will ever bring 2,100 high-paying jobs to Michigan. They're already automating in China. That will definitely come here. Eligible expenses are defined as hard costs for site preparation, construction, infrastructure. Yes. Up to $95 million will require an executed development agreement between the company and local units of government and the purchase or transfer of land to the company. So we're not just renting this land, they're buying it. We're really going to sell a huge chunk of Michigan land to a Chinese company? I'm not for it. I hope that we can rally and stop this project from happening. Up to $25 million will be dispersed upon written agreement with the company and contractors to perform eligible activities, along with agreements with Big Rapids Charter Township, Green Charter Township, and Mecosta County. You know, I read somewhere too that they've been trying to sell this land for a long time. And so it's just, really, you're going to sell for, it's just about money. Our government is selling us out to China. Our local government. In December 2021, Gretchen Whitmer, in collaboration with Michigan state legislator, labor leaders, economic development agencies, and business groups, signed a package of economic incentives that would allow Michigan to compete for transformational projects that will bring long-term economic opportunity and security in the battery production industry. That is a terrible thing. And we're going to get into the batteries. What do we got? You know, I'm going to skip over to this. You get the idea. Big Rapids is going to have an EV battery plant right on the Big Muskegon. Well, I think it's the Little Muskegon up there, the Muskegon River. Our EV battery plants creating more pollution than EVs eliminate. And this is out of Auto Week, under the Green Cars News section. Report, reliance on coal-fired power plants may keep EVs in some countries from polluting less. October 23rd of 2018. So this was a while back. But it's still applicable because nothing has changed in how batteries are created. And what's more is that nothing has changed in how they're disposed either, which is they're not. Amid a rush by some countries to field electric cars and get gas and diesel off the road as soon as possible, not enough consideration is given to just how environmentally costly it will be to produce EV batteries for an all-electric future. or where the electricity to power millions of electric cars will come from. What's more, early studies of lithium-ion EV battery production are far from encouraging. Researchers are finding that battery production for electric cars ultimately produces more carbon dioxide, up to 74% more, than an efficient conventional car if those batteries are produced in a factory powered by fossil fuels. Excuse me. As battery production scales up, so will emissions from factories producing the batteries in the first place. Factories that themselves are relying on less than clean energy to churn out the batteries. It will come down to where is the battery made, how is it made, and even where do we get our electric power from. Henrik Fisker, CEO of Fisker Inc., told Bloomberg. One problem with current lithium-ion battery production, a battery that weighs about 1,000 pounds and is the single most expensive component in an electric vehicle, is that the metals to build a battery are mined in just a handful of countries, using methods that are far from environmentally friendly. Another major problem, one that is not fully felt with the current number of EVs on the road, is where the energy to build the batteries and EVs come from. Precisely. They're talking about rolling blackouts here in America because there's not enough electricity. And yet we're going to create this huge electric vehicle battery plant that's going to take a ton of electricity and all kinds of energy, taking away from citizens that could use that. It's all bad, I'm telling you, all bad. And they don't even mention here, they just say it's far from environmentally friendly. The human tragedy, the slavery that is happening in some of these countries, because it's just the cobalt in particular is mined only in the Congo, Republic of Congo, which is not a republic. Yeah, it's like blood diamond, except for it's blood cobalt. The slave labor there it's a tragedy. And I'll get into that too. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. But they don't discuss it in here, and that is to their detriment. It's a very important part of the downside, the enormous downside of electric vehicles and the batteries in particular. Bloomberg cites Mercedes-Benz Electric Drive System and Integration Department, EB, estimates that currently an EV releases significantly more climate-warming gases at its manufacturing stage than a gas or diesel engine car, which releases just 20% of its lifetime carbon dioxide at the manufacturing stage. Automakers expect this situation to improve in a decade or so, but for now, the amount of pollutants created to manufacture EVs and batteries is greater than that for manufacturing internal combustion vehicles. This was in 2018. Nothing has changed. It hasn't gotten any greener, as if carbon dioxide is bad for the environment. It's literally a greenhouse gas, but I'm not going to get into that. Countries such as Germany, for instance, still rely on coal-fired power plants for 40% of their electricity production, with nuclear power being the next major contributor in the European Union as a whole. Bloomberg says that an EV in Germany would require more than 10 years to break even with a modern internal combustion engine's emissions, just due to the country's current reliance on coal-fired power plants during the manufacturing process. I don't know if I have an article here. Yeah, I'm giving away the game. I'll get more fluid. What was I going for? Oh, right there, 10 years to break even. The battery doesn't even last 10 years. The battery lasts 6 to 8, and that's if you're being really particular with how you charge your battery, only getting it to 80%. Yeah, you won't break even, basically. But this is supposed to be the genius invention that's going to save us. The only reason they want us all in electric vehicles is because you can control an electric vehicle, and you cannot control a gas-powered vehicle remotely. France, on the other hand, which relies more on nuclear power, may offer EVs a different carbon footprint throughout their life cycle, one that ultimately produces fewer pollutants as a result of cleaner power production, not taking into account long-term issues with nuclear power plants, of course. And then you go back up here, it says that automakers expect the situation to improve in a decade or so. What gives them that expectation? And how are we to prove that? Like, that's just wishful thinking. And we're supposed to go on wishful thinking? The situation in Norway is different still, since the country relies on hydroelectric power for the overwhelming majority of its electrical needs. If we did in Michigan, but we're trying to switch. We have so much water in Michigan, but we don't use that. We don't figure out a way to use that more efficiently. No, we are putting a bunch of terrible looking windmills all over our beautiful countryside. So we're trying to do some stupid, and solar in Michigan. It doesn't work in California, and that's the sunniest state besides, well, maybe Florida. I don't know the statistics, but those two are way sunnier. I mean, Michigan, we had 5 minutes of sunshine so far. And I know it's only been like a week and a couple days or whatever, but yeah, we're not a sunny state. So going for wind and solar here in Michigan instead of water power, hydropower, it's either incompetence or malevolence. That's it. Those are the only two answers. Either our government is incompetent or they're malevolent. There's no reason we should be in a shortage of power or even threaten a shortage. And there's no reason we should be putting a bunch of money in electric vehicles. It's terrible for the environment. Industry watchers now fear that battery production, unless it changes dramatically, along with electricity production, will actually produce more atmospheric pollutants than the most efficient gas and diesel engines do at the moment. That's a sobering circumstance to contemplate, one not often mentioned by high-profile leaders of electric car makers. Of course not, because money. They have tons of money invested in this, tons of propaganda invested in this, and they're not going to turn back, obviously. 2018, that was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, they knew that this was not going to work, that this was actually worse for the planet, and yet they continue to push it. We're going full steam ahead. They're talking about banning gas vehicles by 2035 in some places. It's crazy. To replace it with something that creates more pollutants, and they don't know how to dispose of the batteries. Battery fires. Can't forget that. How much should you worry about EV fires? I need to stress the dangers, and this is a danger, fires, from the chemicals that will be at this facility. Fires involving electric cars often make the news, but let's take a look at how frequent they actually occur and whether you should fret over their possibility. Most people understand that electric cars are far different than the gas-guzzling vehicles of the last century. But there are still plenty of misconceptions about battery-powered automobiles. Many people believe that electric cars catch fire at a much higher rate than gas vehicles, and that the battery pack under the floor of an EV is a ticking time bomb. Though fire is something everyone should be alert for, it's not it's not an imminent danger for EV owners. Let's take a look at how common lithium-ion battery fires are and determine if the safety risks are elevated for people in electric cars. How common are electric vehicle battery fires? There are a few ways to look at electric vehicles and battery fires related to them, but it's important to remember that comparing apples to apples between EVs and traditional gas cars doesn't yield an accurate result. Electric vehicles accounted for less than 2% of vehicle sales in the United States in 2020, so there will naturally be far fewer electric vehicle fires. A better way of looking at electric vehicle fires is to compare the number of fires per 100,000 vehicles sold. Researchers from insurance deal site Auto Insurance Easy compiled sales and accident data from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics and the National Transportation Safety Board. The site found that hybrid vehicles had the most fires per 100,000 sales at 3,474.5. There were 1,529 fires per 100,000 for gas vehicles, and just 25.1 fires per 100K vehicles for electric vehicles. The reason why it's easy to think that electric car fires are so common is because EVs are still novel and still unknown to a large portion of the public. I don't know about that. I think that it's more likely it's because how much water it takes to actually put out a battery fire. It's about the intensity of a battery fire versus a gas fire. News and media outlets report on electric fires far more often because of which can make it seem like they are a common occurrence. What's more, when there are highway vehicle fires, they can require a tremendous amount of effort from emergency personnel to extinguish the blaze. Exactly. A chain reaction inside the batteries, sometimes called thermal runaway, can occur when the battery generates more heat than it can dissipate. Lithium-ion batteries also burn hotter and can last much longer than gas, which tends to burn out quickly. That makes it way more dangerous, obviously. Lithium-ion battery fires can take tens of thousands of gallons of water to extinguish. Think about that, tens of thousands of gallons of water for just one fire. Now, what if that whole, worst case scenario, what if the whole facility started on fire? That would be one hell of a fire. I don't think you'd be able to put that out. Fire departments aren't always equipped. Oh wait, sorry. Important information here. The National Fire Protection Association notes one EV fire in Texas required more than 30,000 gallons of water after a crash. 30,000 gallons of water. That's pretty green. That's great for the environment. Let's use up all our water on electric vehicle battery fires. Say that 5 times fast. Fire departments aren't always equipped with trucks and other gear to deal with that. Emergency responders and firefighters must allow different response guides for gasoline fires and need training to properly extinguish the blaze. I'm going to take a sip really quick of water. Yeah, electric vehicles. I know that most people don't know Big Rapids, Michigan. I guess I should have said it's an hour north of Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is the second largest city here in Michigan. And Big Rapids is small. It is a college town, but it's a very, very quiet college town. And the firefighters, it's a small population here. Small group of firefighters. We definitely wouldn't be able to handle 30,000 gallons of water after a crash very easily. And that's just one battery fire. The National Transportation Safety Board has found that many automakers have incomplete or inadequate emergency response guide notes on EVs, but change will come in time. As electric cars become a larger part of the overall vehicle market, manufacturers, law enforcement powers, and product safety advocates will likely develop updated industry safety standards and response methods to cope with the vehicle fire issues. The most commonly reported types of electric vehicle battery fires tend to end up being one of two things. In some cases, batteries have caught on fire after the vehicle was involved in a collision or after the car batteries have been damaged in some way. Automakers have reinforced battery protection in recent years to reduce the safety risks. Other fires occur during charging, which is the case with recent vehicle fires that have made the news recently and resulted in safety recalls to the cost of billions of dollars. Investigation shows that the affected vehicle battery cells had an identified manufacturing defect that increased fire risks when charging. How terrible would that be? That your whole house burned down because of your stupid electric vehicle just randomly goes up in flames, which is an identified manufacturing defect. well, the pros. Huh. That's definitely a con. Last, there is an issue of purchase cost. Electric vehicles, no matter the type, size, or technology, are usually more expensive than comparable gas vehicles. Yeah, and again, 6 to 8 years, man. You ain't getting much battery life. Batteries. Next environmental challenge. This is Forbes. And it was... Where is it? I don't want to follow. There we go. July 25th, 2021. So, a year and a half ago. Electric vehicles are all the rage these days. They are, according to President Biden and much of the media, a crucial part of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and saving the environment. We just read that that's not true. That's not really what happens. So, again, malevolent or ignorant. Neither one very good for a government body. Federal and state subsidies have long encouraged their use. Yeah, your taxpayer dollars are paying for you to poison the earth even more, according to their definition of poisoning, but still poisoning the earth with lithium ion and all these chemicals, and then slave trade, fueling slavery, because cobalt is only found in the Republic of Congo. So when you have centralized supply chain, it's going to be abused. Centralized anything is abused. Let's see. The president, in his infrastructure proposals, would increase that encouragement by building some 500,000 recharging stations across the country. Polluting the earth with more man-made garbage. Yep. That's going green. The presence of EVs on roads has expanded rapidly in the United States and especially in Europe. Though few can doubt the claims made for them, greenhouse gases are not the world's only pollution concern. As China, a leader in EVs, is finding out, the disposal of electric vehicle batteries presents separate and severe environmental risks. That country's experience may offer a glimpse of this country's next environmental scare. Why are we pushing through this with this? Why are we going to promote and keep bringing electric vehicle battery manufacturing here to America? We don't want that. We don't want batteries polluting our landfill that we don't know how to dispose of. EVs, pure and hybrid, are rapidly gaining currency. According to the latest Department of Transportation figures, almost 2 million of these vehicles are on this country's roads already. Still a small percentage of the total, but 3 times the number of 4 years ago. And it is little wonder, aside from a genuine desire on the part of owners to help fight climate change, which they're not. They're not helping fight climate change at all. It's a lie. The federal government has long offered a tax credit of up to $7,500 on the purchase of one of these cars, and some states add to that. The European Union, where there are also heavy subsidies and perhaps a greater public sensitivity to environmental issues, has some 3.2 million EVs on its roads, while the United Kingdom has almost 800,000. It's just so funny to me, where there are also heavy subsidies or perhaps a greater public sensitivity to environmental issues. The European Union is worried about environment, and yet they're raping the planet of the resources called cobalt, and they're littering the planet with EV batteries that they can't dispose of. Yep, logic. Or is it a cult? China is the global leader. It produces more than half the world's EVs, and its roads support about half the world's outstanding number, estimated by the Chinese government to reach some 5.8 million vehicles this year. And now, because of EV's dominance, EV batteries are toxic and can carry great power to pollute. Early on, the problem was less evident. These batteries last for 5 to 8 years. Told you, 5 to 8 years. So it takes 10 years in order for them to actually go neutral on how much greenhouse gas, CO2, it releases. But 5 to 8 years is how long it lasts. So it's never profitable environmentally, according to the religion cult of environmentalists. Because, again, I breathe out, the earth breathes in. The trees love my CO2, and I love the oxygen they provide. But the batteries are a pollutant, and again, chemicals in our water. That's the worst thing. We in Michigan, we know. Flint, still no resolution for that crisis. I will be getting into that in another video, but we know when our waters are poisoned, no one is held accountable. And it won't be any different just because it's China, because obviously our government is in bed with China. And now, because of China's EV dominance, that country is discovering a new and severe environmental problem. EV batteries are toxic and carry great power to pollute. Sorry, I repeated that. Early on, the problem was less evident. These batteries last 5 to 8 years, so it took time before China needed to find ways to dispose of them safely. But in the last year, China had to get rid of some 200,000 tons of these things. The government expects that number to grow to 800,000 tons over the next 4 years, an annual growth rate of over 40%. Where do they get rid of them? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Hopefully it'll explain it in this Forbes article. EV batteries contain heavy metals such as cobalt and nickel, neither of which break down in nature. These also contain manganese, I'm sorry, that can pollute soil and water as well as air. There it is, in black and white. This is from Forbes. They promote electric vehicles, and yet it tells you right there, it can pollute our water sources. This is dangerous for Michigan, dangerous for Michiganders, and I'm downstream, literally. So I'm not happy that this got sprung on us the end of last year. Only 500 micrograms of magnesium in a cubic meter of air will produce manganese poisoning in most people. As lithium batteries degrade, they produce hydrogen fluoride and other pollutants. China has already had to deal with a bout of poisoning tied to battery disposal in Guangdong province. To give a sense of levels of toxicity, one scientist involved in the incident, Professor Wu Fang of the Beijing Institute of Technology, explained that one 20-gram cell phone battery can pollute 3 standard swimming pools of water, and if abandoned on land, it can pollute 1 square kilometer for 50 years. In part, China's problem stems from incomplete policing, not an especially common occurrence in that country. Even the Chinese Communist Party, ever loath to admit any failing on any front, admits that over the years, about half the batteries have been disposed of improperly. In part a response to this recognition, but also with a broader understanding of the scope of the potential problem, the party has committed to stricter supervision. But if the policing problem can explain the Guangdong problem, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I'm terrible at pronunciation. Terrible. It says only little about the potential pollution problem everywhere as numbers of EVs grow and their batteries age. There is no suggestion here that the United States or any other country give up on electric vehicles. Of course not. You would never say that. They will help with greenhouse gas emissions and, in any case, run a lot cooler and quieter than conventional vehicles. Both recommendations in themselves. Cooler and quieter. It will help with greenhouse gas emissions. How? It takes more fossil fuels to charge the batteries, to run the cars themselves. It's a fallacy. And anybody that's willing to look into it logically and use rationality will know that this electric vehicle shit is exactly that. It's shit. They will help greenhouse gas emissions, yeah. No doubt future technologies will rid EV batteries of their toxicity. No doubt, huh? A lot of faith in man. A lot of faith in man. What reason do they have? They're getting away with it right now. Not doing a damn thing. So why would they spend a bunch of money on R&D and really change anything? No doubt future technologies will rid EV batteries of their toxicity and find better ways to dispose of them. But even with all the benefits, present and future, it's a lot of future, in the future so far, don't you think? Everything I've read, it's in the future, it'll get better, it'll get better. Will it? Or will you just be under more control in an electric-powered vehicle? This potential pollution problem should remain both the country's public and its officials. Should remind both the country's public and its officials that EVs are not the unmitigated goods some pretend they are, and that greenhouse gases, no matter how much they sit in the fronts of people's minds these days, are far from the only environmental problem. They're not a problem at all. How is a greenhouse gas a problem? It's an oxymoron. It's a greenhouse gas. It's needed in greenhouses to have plants, to have greenery, trees and grass and everything in between need CO2. It's anti-life. I just don't understand how people don't make that connection. It's life needs the greenhouse gases. China's present is a clear warning of tomorrow's potential troubles. Exactly. That's exactly why we should just say no to this battery plant. Taking it to America now. So China's having issues. We're taking it to Kansas. Has taken in a green industry with its own pollution problems. Same green energy that Michigan is about to take in. I think so. August 10th, 2022. Plastics and other materials from shredded lithium-ion batteries lie in piles. The Argonne National Lab is trying to solve the puzzle of how best to recycle electric vehicle batteries. A federal climate bill aims to press car makers to assemble cars in North America and to source or recycle certain components here. Panasonic Energy plans to build a $4 billion electric vehicle power plant on the edge of the Kansas City area. Panasonic's decision to build a $4 billion factory for EV batteries in Johnson County could help an industry struggling to ramp up while reeling from an ailing supply chain. Another thing. The plant also underscores how an industry marked as green comes with its own tough-to-solve environmental problems, like how to build a more easily recycled battery with a lower pollution footprint. For now, salvaging the most valuable ingredients in electric batteries usually means shredding them and burning off certain ingredients or drenching them in acid. So all that should take place right next to our waterway in a Chinese factory. Does that sound like an intelligent idea to you? Is that the kind of industry we want in Michigan? Michigan is a beautiful state. And there's plenty of business opportunity here. Absolutely. But it should not be something that is anti-green. Something that's going to pollute our beautiful state. For now, salvaging the most valuable ingredients. Yeah, nobody has come up with a good design that would be easily recyclable, said Linda Gaines, a chemical physicist and transportation system analyst at the Argonne National Laboratory. The fact that each manufacturer designs its batteries differently further complicates the chore of salvaging the remains of an old battery. If you can actually recover the materials without breaking them down that far, Gaines said, you get a more valuable product with less energy use and less environmental impacts along the way. Argonne's Resell Center is among those looking for ways to achieve this. The urgency to find an efficient, environmentally sound solution will grow as electric vehicles gobble up a bigger share of the auto market and today's fleet ages. EV batteries haven't been in service that long, and they're lasting quite well. What? Who? Really? So there isn't a huge waste stream yet. They're lasting quite well. 5 to 8 years is lasting quite well. In what fucking world? Knowing that scientists at institutions such as Argonne are racing to track the riddle gives hope to Dorothy Barnett, executive director of the Climate Plus Energy Project based in Hutchinson, Kansas. The group wants Kansas to grow its economy through environmentally friendly jobs. Kansas is already one of the nation's top 5 producers of wind power. The Panasonic plant will propel the state into another section of the green economy. Yeah, wind power, that's another one. It's another rabbit hole that I'd love to go down with you guys, because twice now I have said that those windmills are an eyesore on our beautiful countryside. Excuse me. Nose itches. On our beautiful countryside. And both times these individuals said, I think they're cool. I think they look good. It's like, are you serious? Have you been to where there's beautiful mountains and they're littered with these gigantic industrial windmills? That's wind power. A rabbit hole for another day. But even this industry will need to minimize its own environmental toll. For environmentalists, that's a dilemma. For all of us, it's a dilemma. Much of mining, smelting, manufacturing, and battery recycling related to electric vehicles occurs far from Kansas in other countries. These processes use groundwater and produce pollution. I'm going to click on that. No way. Sorry. Can't do it. Paywall. Increasingly, the U.S. may see more of the supply chain move closer to home. That's what we're seeing, and I don't like it. Go somewhere else. Not Michigan. Reuters says Panasonic intends to at least triple its global battery output this decade, mainly by ramping up facilities in North America. Louis Fulton, an expert on energy policy at the University of California, Davis, sees a trend. The federal climate bill that passed the Senate on Sunday presses car makers eager to qualify for tax credits to assemble cars in North America and to source or recycle certain components here. Oh, so it's thanks to our blue-ass Fed. Thanks, Biden. We were already seeing more announced investments in the United States, both for vehicle production and for battery supply. I mean, it makes sense, right? Biden and Whitmer holding hands. Of course, that Gotion would come here. We might just see that continuing to increase all the way up the supply chain. Manufacturers seem convinced it's worth the investment. That's all part of an expectation now on the part of the automobile industry that electric vehicles are here to stay. Their sales are growing rapidly. They're booming right now in the second quarter of 2022. Even when fossil fuels are involved in electricity generation, electric vehicles generally produce fewer emissions than their gas-burning counterparts. And as renewable energy, like all those wind farms across Kansas, fuels more of our electricity, the advantages of switching from gas-powered to electric cars will only increase. No. You know what will increase advantage for who? Well, that didn't make any sense. You know whose advantage it is to go to electric cars? The people that make electric cars. BMW, real quick, a little side tangent. BMW heated seats subscription. This is why they want you to go to electric vehicles. BMW starts selling heated seat subscriptions for $18 a month. If you have an all-electric vehicle and everything in there is run by electricity, then it's like a computer. And a computer, like a video game, you can monetize, you can turn off certain sections of the software and then charge for it. And that's exactly what's happening here. $18 a month for you to have heated seats when once you had heated seats when you bought the vehicle. Your vehicle will become a subscription-based model, just like everything else. You will own nothing in it. If you pay for it at the beginning and you have all the software, they could change it at any time. Just like in a video game, they do it all the time now. They could take away features. They could put it behind a paywall after you bought it. They can do all kinds of shady shit. That's why they want electric vehicles. That's why they want everybody to be in an electric vehicle and to get rid of gas. It's about control. It's about power. It's about nickel and diming you. It's about you not owning a damn thing in this world, that you rent everything. And that way you're under complete control, because if you say something the government doesn't like, they'll just shut your car off. They'll just take away these features. You'll be stuck. Too much power, too much centralization. That's what electric cars are. It's centralization of literal power, electricity. I'm not going to get into that. You get the idea just from the headline. $18 a month for heated seats. Fuck you, BMW. After months of speculation, news became official last month that Panasonic would build. Obviously, this is Kansas. I just brought this up because they describe some issues that they're having in Kansas, which is in the United States, about recycling the batteries. So another issue with electric vehicle batteries. All right, this is Digital Trends, and August 7th, 2022. What's the environmental impact of EV battery manufacturing and recycling? I know that it may seem redundant. I'm just hitting the point home. I'm making sure you get all the facts from multiple sources, and there's tons of information out there. I'll leave all of the links to these articles in the description down below. I highly suggest you do your own research. Always. Never outsource your thinking to anyone. Not me, not CNN, not Fox News. One major caveat to the spread of electric vehicles is the question of what we're going to do with all these car batteries once their time is up, so in 5 to 8 years. There's also concern about the environmental impact of lithium mining, not to mention that of other essential metals like cobalt and nickel. Let's take some time to look at what goes into EV batteries, where they go when they're dead, and whether EVs are, in the end, still the best choice for the environment. Let's see what he has to say. Are EV batteries recyclable? EV batteries are highly recyclable. Over 95% of a lithium-ion battery's components can be extracted via hydrometallurgy. That's one of the jobs. So they're going to use that water. What a disaster waiting to happen. Our beautiful Michigan water. Already happened in Flint. This involves grinding up battery components and running them through an acidic solution. A series of solvents and rounds of electroplating are able to pull individual elements out of the solution. Smelting recovery is common, but more energy intensive and less effective. The pollution caused by this recycling process is negligible. Says who? It's negligible. How about the water source in the lake? I know I should know more than this, but 60 years and the government knew that the water had poison, and they were basically experimenting on the people that were living around the water source. How do we know that in 10 years we won't all have some kind of poisoning, some kind of side effect that has caused a cancer or anything else? How do you know, and to who? I gotta see. What does this say? Battery-powered electric vehicles, market development, and life cycle emissions. Well, I'll just read the abstract, and I'll leave the link down below so you can deep dive into that. I'm not going to do that today. As 2018 gets underway, there are probably more than 3 million electric cars in circulation in the world. There are also more than 600 million electric bikes, scooters, and motorcycles, plus a few 100,000 electric buses and other types of quadricycles having an electric motor. The first part of this paper traces the fast-evolving market of electric road vehicles. The second part shows that the production of hundreds of millions of battery packs requires a lot of energy and plenty of scarce resources, which affects the real impact of electric vehicles on the climate and the environment, and make it necessary to consider the recovery and recycling of used batteries. Yep, I will definitely leave that down below as well. Sounds like it's going to be enlightening. The problem right now is that we don't have enough recycling facilities currently running at the scale needed to meet the deluge of EV batteries coming off their end of life. Deluge. We're currently only recycling about 5% of our lithium-ion batteries. 5%. But luckily, the growing value of lithium, cobalt, and nickel makes the prospect of recovering it much more attractive. Making the recycling process profitable can be challenging depending on the materials you're targeting. See, this is the problem with all of humanity. Profitable is only monetary. If it's monetarily profitable, not profitable for your health of the citizens of your country, profitable for this plane of existence, Mother Earth, who I certainly love, and these people claim to love that are pushing EV batteries and EV vehicles, but 5%. It's so sad. Most process routes achieve high yields for the valuable metals, cobalt, copper, and nickel. In comparison, what about all the lives? Most of all the lives that are being destroyed over in the Republic of Congo and anywhere where these scarce materials are. All those lives being destroyed in the name of green energy. In comparison, lithium is only recovered in few processes and with a lower yield, albeit a high economic value. The recovery of the low-value components, graphite, I gotta figure out how to say that, and electrolyte solvents is technically feasible but economically challenging. What's the environmental impact of lithium? Though a vital component of batteries, lithium only makes up about 11% of a cell's total mass. You can see how it factors into battery chemistry over here. Australia, Chile, and China produce the lion's share of the world's lithium supply. Automotive application eats up about 31% of that supply, but that demand is expected to continue a sharp upwards trajectory. There are two ways lithium is extracted: salt flats and hard rock mining. When hard spodumene or spodumene, that kind of ore is mined, it's broken down, separated, subjected to an acid bath, and eventually lithium sulfate can be teased out of the mix. This is a very traditional mining method with all of the usual risks of pollutants gathering in tailing ponds. It's a relatively cheap process compared to salt flat processing, but also produces a low-grade product. Australia, with a whopping 46% of the world's lithium output, relies heavily on hard rock mining. Since this method is so labor-intensive, it's no surprise that it produces about triple the emissions per metric ton of lithium compared to salt flats. Salt flats are created when water is pumped underground and returns to the surface with the dissolved minerals. This brine is spread across wide pools to evaporate, leaving behind the minerals to be separated and processed. Salt flats are common in a triangle overlapping Chile, Argentina, and Bolivia. The nearby Andes Mountains have created large deposits not far below the surface thanks to geothermal activity that leaches minerals from volcanic rock. Higher elevation also promotes faster evaporation in the brine pool. The major cost of lithium extraction in salt flats is water usage. Getting exact numbers is challenging, however. Estimates range from 250 gallons of water per pound of lithium all the way up to 1 million gallons. Per pound. 1 million gallons per pound. Yep. That's good for the planet. Data from the Chilean government suggests that brine production in the Atacama Flats is outpacing the aquifers. I will learn to speak English. The aquifer's ability to recharge by about 30%. About 65% of the region's water is used for lithium mining. These operations are taking place in deserts where water supply is already tenuous for local populations and puts additional strain on local agriculture. Let's see what this says. Lithium mining is leaving Chile's indigenous communities high and dry, literally. As the metal fuels the clean tech boom. How can you say that in the same sentence? The clean tech boom. Companies race to mine the region. At stake, fragile ecosystems, scarce water resources, and ancient ways of life. Yeah. Destroying indigenous cultures, too. I guess that it could be the same in the Republic of Congo, but yeah. On top of dealing with increasingly scarce water in the driest places on Earth, Aboriginal groups that inhabit neighboring areas are also at risk of dealing with abandoned materials and disrupted ecosystems due to the mining industry. Many have already been subject to this kind of abuse from international mining companies in the past. As a result, they've either put up staunch opposition to new projects or claimed significant ownership of them. So yeah, their government's taking advantage too. Well, the Aboriginals are going to get destroyed, but at least give me money. What about other materials used in batteries? Batteries have loads of other materials in them, like nickel, cobalt, and graphite. Let's see what this concludes. Are EVs still better for the environment once battery production and recycling are accounted for? Collectively, what might seem like a high cost to make our EVs a reality. Life cycle assessments comparing electric to traditional cars shows EVs are indeed front-loaded with emissions thanks to the cost of batteries. Where that difference is made up is over the lifetime of the vehicle. Internal combustion engines make cars between 60 to 68% more emissive than EVs in the US. Considering the outsized role fuel makes in this calculation, cleaning up the electrical grid is almost as important as getting a bunch of EVs on the road. Average emissions savings in Europe can range between 28 to 72% depending on how electric vehicles are getting charged. Ultimately, EVs are still a necessary transition to put a dent in global emissions. How? I don't see how. Everything I've read, all of these different articles put together, it makes no sense that sentence is true. You want it to be true, but that doesn't make it so. They're confronted with the ugly environmental effects of mining well before those of climate change. Governments will need to do a better job holding the mining industry to account for proper site management before we get too smug about populating a green future full of electric vehicles. Freudian slip. Polluting was more accurate. Okay. Now, CBC, which can't really be trusted, but this was 2019, so maybe it was a little better back then, before 2020. Electric vehicles are supposed to be green, but the truth is a bit murkier. Mining lithium for batteries, plus how they're charged, can affect an EV's impact on environment. Like I said, December 29th, 2019. And this... where does your power come from? Here we go. Some EV batteries today pack 10 times as much power as an average household uses in a day. And often, those electric vehicles are being charged at home. Yeah, think about that. Yep, when your electric prices are fucking skyrocketing. Not to mention, Michigan gets cold. This year, so far, knock on wood. I hope that's real wood. So far, has not been bad here in Michigan. Got a cold chill just thinking about Arctic weather. Haven't had it. It's been really nice. I don't mind at all that it's warmer. Most of the electricity generated by North America grids has some greenhouse gas emissions connected to it. So even if a car isn't belching carbon, it doesn't mean it's perfectly clean. Again, this war on carbon, it's really a war on life. For instance, coal is about the dirtiest way to generate electricity to recharge a car battery. Powering an EV with electricity generated from coal is marginally better than burning gasoline in an internal combustion engine. Says who? According to numbers compiled by Jennifer Dunn at Northwestern University Center for Engineering, Sustainability, and Resilience. Yeah, I would have to really look into that. I don't trust that. There's a lot of vested interest. There's a lot of bias. You want it to be environmentally friendly, and so you will base your science around that. Science. Relative life cycle. Where does your battery come from? Yeah. Lithium mining. Yep. Just more shit. And this, I've already explained how it was made, but maybe not how it works. Let's see. A lithium battery can use any number of different materials. The most common combination is that of lithium cobalt oxide. So this just gets into the nitty-gritty, the details. Yeah, despite their technological promise, ion batteries still have a number of shortcomings, particularly with regards to safety. The batteries have a tendency to overheat and can be damaged at high voltages. In some cases, this can lead to thermal runaway and combustion. This has caused significant problems, notably the grounding of the Boeing 787 fleet after onboard battery fires were reported. Because of the risks associated with these batteries, a number of shipping companies refuse to perform bulk shipments of batteries by plane. These ion batteries require safety mechanisms to limit voltage and internal pressures, which can increase weight and limit performance in some cases. The batteries are also subject to aging, meaning that they can lose capacity and frequently fail after a number of years. Another factor limiting their widespread adoption is their cost, which is around 40% higher than NiCd. Addressing these issues is a key component for current research into the technology. Finally, despite the high energy density of ion batteries compared to other kinds of batteries, they are still around 100 times less energy dense than gasoline. Pfft. Yeah. Energy dense. Yep. So another awesome article by the Clean Energy Institute. Doesn't say when this came out, though. Yeah. No date. Leave that down in the link below. Alright. And then I have this video to watch with you. That was a Joe Rogan clip with an investigative journalist who sheds light on the atrocities of cobalt mining in the Republic of Congo. So I'm gonna put it in theater mode.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I'm gonna grab my headset real quick. They lying? Are they malevolent? Or are they ignorant? Just a show. Now think about if it's like that for EV batteries and electric vehicles in general, what else is just a show? Well said. His book is Red Cobalt, I believe. Let me see. Oops. Huh. There we go. That's what it's called. Cobalt Red comes out the end of this month, so check it out. Alright, so the last thing is a replacement for those 2,150 jobs that supposedly Gotion's bringing in to Michigan. How about instead of a water poisoning EV battery plant damaging the environment and human lives around the world, instead of that, why don't we make the world's largest greenhouse right here in Michigan? We'd provide food. It's a greenhouse. Well, how can you get any greener than that? And again, food scarcity is going to be an issue because we're culling millions of chickens. Chicken genocide is happening and PETA's nowhere to be found. So food is going to be scarce soon. Why not create a balance to that, a fallback? Huge dome greenhouse. Oh, no, no, no. No music. Eden Project, look at that. Let's do that right here in Michigan. Jobs would be created, food would be created. It's green, can't get more green. It hits all the boxes. I'd much prefer that than a Chinese battery plant company. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you looking forward to the Gotion battery plant still? You think I'm wrong? Or have I pointed out some things that maybe you didn't know about and made you think about it a little bit? I hope so. I'm gonna do everything I can to stop it from happening, which right now is not that much, but I'm gonna try. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow in my live stream about books, 23 books, and I already gave a little spoiler for one, that are releasing this year, 2023, and they're nonfiction, so